off we go on a Thursday. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. I'm Bobby Trossett. This is Sarah Ellison, and today's live stream is brought to you by us. TheVaultPod.com/shop is where you can get yourself a piece of merch. It's our brand new apparel line that we had rolled out over the summer, and we would love for you to rock, whether it's a hoodie, whether it's a t-shirt, a crew neck, a snapback, you name it, out to the bank this weekend for the Ravens home opener against the Cleveland Browns. That is Sunday at 1 o'clock. It is Thursday, September 11th, Sarah. It's the 24th anniversary of 9/11, of course, in New York City and elsewhere outside of that as well. And I thought we'd be remiss if, one, we didn't acknowledge that, and two, I think Eric Hill is somebody who's a huge supporter of this show. He is an active firefighter in the New York area, and I thought it'd be a great way to kind of begin today's show by not only saying thank you to him and those, of course, 24 years ago who ran into burning buildings with one thing on their mind, and that was to protect others. And that's what Eric does on a daily basis. So what better way to start today's show out than reading a few super chats and some of his sentiments that have come in so far this morning. He wrote 343 New York City firefighters and countless more were lost on this day in 2001. My inspiration for becoming a firefighter in the first place was because of my uncle. And although he's back to himself now, I remembered how he changed for a good while after that mentally. And then I'll get to the second one. And emotionally, while helping and volunteering his time and effort with the recovery at Ground Zero. Coincidentally, this Suicide Awareness Month, if you need help, seek it. Don't end your life. Veteran, first responder, or just a simple civilian. And one more super chat is attached to this as well. And just in case no one tells you today they love you, just know that I do. That's from Eric Hill himself. Hashtag stop the 22 per day. Hashtag Suicide Awareness Month. Hashtag first responders. Hashtag VAULTRON family. And on top of that, he's gifted 10 memberships. Just a ridiculous amount of support from Eric on a daily basis. But today, Sarah, of all days, we wanted to make sure to celebrate Eric, celebrate the lives of those who were lost 24 years ago, both in the line of duty and also just innocently. Before we even get into the rundown, I wanted to make sure we started our show that way.
Yeah, and what's nice with Eric is like this generosity and this type of love that he puts out and this type of positivity and community isn't something he's just doing today on 9/11. It's something he does here in our chat and with these super chats every single day. I mean, his sacrifice and his positivity knows no bounds. So appreciate him and love and support to those that families that are still affected by 9/11. Same thing to the family. It's just because it's yesterday. Same thing to the family of Charlie Kirk and everything that went down there. Bobby, as you know, I went to Utah Valley University for 2 years before I transferred to BYU. It was hard to get into BYU, and a lot of people go to Utah Valley University first. That was surreal to watch that on my old campus. My nephew was there. He was in the fourth row. I was talking to my brother about that yesterday, and that was a tough day for him to witness that and kind of be in the middle of all that. And, it's like it kind of brings us back again to Eric. You just want more Americans to be like Eric, more people to be civil and kind. And, I just want to live in an America where we can have rigorous debate and disagreement and not be afraid of violence. And I think that the more that we talk with those with whom we disagree, I think keeping those lines of communication open without fear of violence is a good thing. And so just wanted to send love and prayers to anybody that's affected by either of these events.
It's been a heavy 24 hours for sure. And hey, I'm really happy to know that I got that text from you late last night after we chatted about your nephew. I'm glad that he is safe. And, not everybody can say that, obviously, after yesterday. So, yeah, prayers and thoughts and love and just positive energy to the Kirk family and all of you that 24 years ago today were affected. Really, all Americans were affected, but those of you like Eric in the line of duty, those of you that lost. I know we have some folks that are from the Northeast, and I grew up about 3 hours or so from New York City. We all knew somebody or an extension of somebody, right? A degree of separation that was affected firsthand that day. We send blessings and all of our love to you on this tragic day 24 years ago in New York City. Well, with that, Sarah, we do have a lot to get to today. It's always hard to transition off of that, but I think, again, we'd be remiss if we didn't kick things off today with those sentiments. But the good news is we will try and transition because it's a positive one. We have a lot of positive content to get to, at least maybe not in the beginning if you're a Ravens fan, but at 1:30, all right, the great Terrell Suggs is scheduled to join us. All right, so that's what I mean by it. Marlon Humphrey's not exactly a feel-good here in terms of what he had to say yesterday about this current state of this defense and essentially an ultimatum that was issued, Sarah, after 1 week of football. So let me just be clear. Terrell Suggs is the positive side of today's live stream. Everything else will probably be constructive and maybe feel like the world is ending.
Yeah, the Lamar and Joe Flacco stuff is super fun too. A lot of good stuff. Yeah.
I'm like setting it up. I'm like, wait a second. Is this something to be excited for and celebrate? Well, we'll have a little bit of both. It'll be constructive from a defensive standpoint. A lot of tough conversations, Sarah, appear to have been had between really the end of the Bills game and today. Marlon Humphrey talked a lot about that at length yesterday, and we've got a lot to discuss as a result. Welcome in. Pleasure to have you guys with us today. Please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider gift-giving membership today, or perhaps becoming a channel Vaultron. Partner, where do we begin with Marlon's comments?
Yeah, so Marlon obviously was in the scrum in the locker room yesterday, the media scrum as we call it. And Bobby, we know the facts. We know that the Ravens offense scored 40 points. And while there was a fumble there at the end, you score 40 points, you should be winning games. Unfortunately, the Buffalo Bills scored 41, including around 250 yards in the fourth quarter, 16 unanswered points in the last 5 minutes of the game. And so I can't imagine that it was fun for the defensive players to go into the meeting rooms on Monday. I know that Kyle Van Noy revealed that they did have a defensive dinner. It sounds like it was already pre-planned, but that dinner became something that I don't think they originally thought it was going to be. And, they're already trying to dig deep after week one. But Marlon Humphrey, while in the locker room with the media, he revealed a lot of what John Harbaugh and what his message was to the defense. He also revealed what Zach Orr and his message was. And there was an ultimatum in there, Bobby. So here we go. I've got a few parts to this. Marlon Humphrey.
Being up 15, and I'm like, I looked over Rose like, let's go win the game. And I think as a collective, when you watch the tape, we all want to do that, but I think it goes kind of to what Harb's addressing the team meeting. He said, we're just not mature enough as a team yet. I think it's very clear we got great players on both sides of the ball, but defensively, we have to work on our maturity to, doesn't matter what our offense is doing, doesn't matter what Lamar, we have to go out there and win the game. Do your job, and if a play comes to you to make it. And I think working on that maturity, it comes in practice. We do a lot of scenarios. It's crazy how we did the exact scenarios that we lost on multiple times all throughout camp. We were in the perfect calls for a lot of the things that happened. We did not execute the calls properly. And that's why the loss hurt so bad. It was because we knew exactly what they were going to do in a couple different situations, and all 11 guys couldn't get together. And so that maturity, we're still working on it, and we're looking to build on that maturity Sunday. Zios made it very clear. We're not going to be repeat offenders. It's not going to be a situation where somebody's been doing something wrong and nothing gets said, or we think this, that, and the third. If you're doing things right, you're going to play, and if you're not doing things right, you're not going to play. I'm hoping I'm one of the guys that's going to do things right, and I hope whoever else is with that, but we're not going to get into a situation similar to last year where we kind of mask over this and try to do this and protect this guy, protect that guy. The guys that do it right are going to play, and the guys that aren't. And it's really just that simple. I think we're just too talented of a team to continue to have those collapses kind of that we have. And I'm not saying this last game, I felt it was more of a true group defensively effort, but the guys that are doing it right are going to play, and that was kind of the message. And I think everybody can respect that going forward.
Lots of honesty already after week one, Bobby. There's several different points, and you can pick one you want to start out with. He talked about John Harbaugh saying they aren't a mature defense yet, which threw one of the reporters off. He's like, well, you guys are a pretty veteran defense. You got a lot of veterans there. What do you mean by mature? And he was talking about working together, where the pass rush and the secondary, the pass coverage are working together, and that's just not happening yet. And then people kind of getting out of position. He said that Zach Oweh had them in perfect calls oftentimes when they gave up good plays. And he said, we knew exactly what they were going to do, and we still messed it up. And it goes back to that maturity. Like, we know what you're going to do, so why aren't we working together and just doing our jobs? And then finally, Bobby, he said that Zach Oweh made it clear there will not be repeat offenders. They're not going to be nice. I think I could be wrong. I think he was referring to Eddie Jackson and Marcus Williams last year, when they were like being nice. And like, again, they didn't make a ton of changes, or at least all the changes, until week 10. It's not going to last that long. It doesn't seem like the leash is going to be that long. He says, if you do not play right, you will not play at all. Which one of those points do you want to start out with first?
Oh, the fact that this is coming from the longest tenured defensive Raven. So I guess none of those.
Okay. Do what you got to do.
No. Just to set it up, right, and give a little bit of context. This is the longest tenured defensive Raven. This is a leader on this team. And this is someone who still has scar tissue, clearly, figuratively speaking, from last year. And understands that they cannot afford to do what they did and lag this team, really almost leave this team behind a little bit through the first 10 weeks from a passing defense standpoint last year. They can't do that again. That affected seeding. That affected overall home field advantage. That affected overall wins. It affected so many things throughout the first 10 weeks of last year that they can't afford that. There's too much talent. There's too much at stake. There's too many players that are among this core that are entering the final years of their contracts, including the entire tight end room and the fullback. And so Marlon knows that they cannot be the one, right? If they're going to go down, they're going to go down because this top-rated historic offense falls short. It can't be because of the phase that he commands on the defensive side of the ball. It cannot be because of them. And it was in that second half, particularly in that fourth quarter, as you noted right off the top, right, on Sunday night. And it was much throughout last year, whether it was what they did directly or indirectly. What do I mean by that? Directly, it was one of the worst ranked passing defense through 10 weeks. Indirectly, being unable to create turnovers, force turnovers when it matters the most in January. He understands that, Sarah. He's made it clear this entire offseason during his press conference availabilities that it's not good enough. We are not feared like we once were. And so this, to me, this is so significant coming from Marlon, and it's just an extension of what he's made an offseason now into an in-season initiative to nip this in the bud before it gets out of control. And I appreciate that coming from the longest tenured Raven. So I know you listed off a few things. Why don't you take it? Which one you would go first? But that was my first thought in terms of the significance of the timing of this and also the messenger.
Yeah, no, I think it's good that you put it in context of that. It's like, hey, this is the most tenured Raven, and he feels like he can speak up both in the media. He's probably speaking up in the locker room also. And it's interesting to me, Bobby, that after week one, Zach Oweh is already issuing ultimatums and saying we're not going to have repeat offenders. And so I want to bring that up because there are some who are upset with people who are like, hey, or who are upset with people who feel a little bit panicked, and not even panicked to the sense of like, oh, the season's down the drain. Like the Ravens are going to make the playoffs as long as like they have health on their side. They're going to still make the playoffs, and they're going to beat the brakes off of several teams. And so it's not like a panic button as if the season's over. But what it is saying, hey, we've seen this movie multiple times before where you have leads and then you collapse. And whether it's turnovers on offense or the defense just completely melting down in the fourth quarter. And so anybody that wants to try to say, hey, you're overreacting, then you need to say that Zach Oweh is overreacting. Because Zach Oweh, after 1 week, is issuing this ultimatum. And why is he doing that? because we've seen this story before. We've got basically the same offense as last year. We have a lot of carryover from defense last year. There are some new faces too. Obviously, Jair Alexander, a new weak side linebacker, although we don't know who's going to settle in full time there. So there are some new faces too, but like the key characters on each side of the ball is back, and it's the same issues. All the same coaches are back, and it's the same issues. And so it's like, there's not panic that the season is over after week 1. There's concern that the problems weren't fixed. And ZO is making that clear. Yeah, it hasn't been fixed. And so I will fix them if you can't get on board. I'm here for that accountability. And I also am happy. You know, yesterday we had on Jason Smith from Huddle It Up Films, and I asked him specifically, I was like, do you have an analysis on the final defensive play of the first half where they let Josh Allen come down and set themselves up for a field goal? Which, again, that could have been a game changer if you didn't give him those points. And Jason was like, I really don't know. It's hard for me to analyze because I don't know whose jobs were what. Well, Marlon Humphrey came out and he said, we were in the perfect calls. So it wasn't a scheme thing in his view. Like, we had a plan for that. We practiced it. We knew what we had to do, and we didn't do it. And then he said it's the defense as a whole. I'm assuming he's putting himself in that. And so, Bobby, we said earlier this week, like, okay, I'm willing to be patient for sure, but it can't take 10 weeks again. And I think Zach Orr is giving that same message. It can't take 10 weeks this time. We have to turn it around sooner than later, especially when you consider the opponents that are coming up on the schedule.
No doubt. This is a first place schedule, and they can't be staring 0-2 in the face again. They just can't. We all remember what happened in week 2 of last year. The Vegas letdown game coming off the rematch of the AFC Championship game. And you better believe, Sarah, that Cleveland's got something to prove, okay? With all of this in mind, you've got the opponent, in Jerry Jeudy's case, saying things like this during his press conference. You think he's concerned about going up against this secondary right now? By the way, Jerry's a dog. He's a South Florida dog. He and Lamar have been boys since childhood. So you already know there's going to be some good spirited back and forth, I'm sure, but between two AFC North rivals, if you will. But Jerry Jeudy, who's put up some numbers against the Ravens before, Sarah, had this exchange with a reporter yesterday.
Baltimore secondary, a lot of notable names back there. Just what are the challenges that group presents to you guys as receiving?
No challenges.
How about the fact that you guys are 10.5-point underdogs for this game, and even though you guys really outplayed the Bengals except for that 1 point.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the fact that you're going into Baltimore as 10.5-point underdogs?
That's disrespectful. But at the end of the day, they if they think Baltimore could beat us like that, we're gonna have to prove them another thing. We got to do our job and do our best to win the game.
All right, Sarah. He may not have had a signature Jamar Chase-like game against the Ravens yet. We know Jamar Chase has had several of those. This was a Jamar Chase-like answer. You heard him at the beginning. What kind of challenges does Baltimore's secondary present? He didn't even stutter. No challenges. Went on to refer to the 10.5-point spread, right, in favor of the Ravens. Cleveland is 10.5-point underdogs going into this game on Sunday as disrespectful. You'd expect any opponent to say that. As a prideful player that he is. But this is the reputation, Sarah, over the last couple of years that this group has essentially earned, right?
Right.
It's earned this reputation, and that's the way that it's viewed by playmakers on the opposite side.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting there saying, oh, it's disrespectful. Obviously, it's Vegas and that's coming up with these spreads, right? Not the Ravens. But he's meeting that disrespect with his own disrespect, and he's saying it's no challenges. And here's the thing, though, is it would be nice to be able to sit here and, stick our chest out and pound it and be like, oh, no challenges? Okay, well, we'll see. But the defense hasn't given us that confidence. You know what I mean? And so the defense can't really say anything back unless it's with their actions on the field. To your point, like you said, like Marlon Humphrey said that nobody fears us anymore. Well, Jerry Jeudy is the poster for that. You know what I mean? He's the poster guy that's saying, yeah, we don't fear you. So I'm going to go up into my into my Wednesday presser with no shirt on and just say, no challenges. Like, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Yeah, I said it. What are you going to do about it? And so the only thing the defense can do about it is respond on Sunday. And by the way, Jerry Jeudy, I mean, last week, he had a decent game. He had 5 receptions, 66 yards, no touchdowns. So decent game, but nothing huge. And so, you know, Marlon Humphrey and all the guys back there, Nate Wiggins, Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks, all of them, they need to make him pay for that on the field.
Yeah, and by the way, Jerry's coming off the best season of his career, over 1,200 receiving yards last year with Cleveland. And how many touchdowns did he have within that? He had 4 touchdowns, and he gave the Ravens some work in one of those games last year. So it's just, you know, back to sort of the sound and sound bites and quotes coming out of the locker room here and sticking with the defense, albeit a different piece of the defense, right? We'll go up front, or in this case, on the edge. And friend of the show, Cordell Woodland, transcribed something that Odafe Oweh told him, and you see it here on the screen. He was asked what went wrong straight up in Buffalo. And Odafe, Sarah, who said some things in the past that you and I have questioned, or at least has gotten our attention. We'll relive that in just a second.
Yeah, more attention than questioned. I agreed with him. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. I guess maybe I'm just referring to him saying that we have to tell ourselves we're good enough. That was like of interest to me.
Right.
Maybe there's something else that you're referring to.
Well, we questioned, though, why that was said, right? I mean, it was like, what kind of killer instinct does that reflect? I thought was sort of the takeaway I know that I had from that moment. But we'll fast forward to this for now. And he says, quote, "We took our foot off the gas. We knew how much we didn't like the team and how much we wanted to dominate them," referring to the Bills. "That's why we started beating them by a lot. We got complacent. We thought we already won the game and took our foot off the gas." No kidding, Sarah. That was the fourth quarter. And, of course, the second half where they surrendered 28 total points to Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Here's another quote from him because we have heard a lot about like the rush lane discipline. John Harbaugh called that out on Monday. And Odafe was kind of right there with them. He said, obviously, we have to be more disciplined. Everyone can't be trying to make a play. We have to be a unit. A lot of times we weren't in our proper fits because guys want to spin out or take the inside move. And so that might be playing back into what Marlon Humphrey was saying about like a defensive team maturity, where, you know, like he said, you're trying to play hero, you're trying to like win the game on one play. And that's just not how defense works. Like you have to be a full unit. And, you know, because of that, you know, Josh Allen, who's already tough to contain, he's able to escape, you know, break, contain, get outside, make plays with his legs or scramble and throw on the run, all that type of stuff. And so when you're playing against, you know, one of the guys that's always in contention with Lamar Jackson for MVP, whether, you know, he fully deserved it last year or not, like he's still an MVP contender. And you have to do your job, Bobby. That sign is all over the Ravens facility. I worked there for years. There's signs everywhere, black and dark purple background, bright white letters, do your job. You can't do anybody else's job, especially if you're not doing your own. You leave your job, then it exposes a weakness. Do your job, trust and have faith in the teammate next to you to do his. And in the long run, that is what will work out in the end.
I think this thing can go kind of, you know, putting our final thoughts on this before we turn to super chats and other comments here, Sarah. This thing can go one of two ways, right? It's 1 week. They're nipping this thing in the bud right now. And this thing can be cleared up, and it could be an afterthought in 72 hours from now if they put a thumping on Cleveland. Now, will it be an afterthought for those within this fan base that are old enough to remember what's happened the last several postseason runs? No. But they'll at least be able to turn a page, get into their regular season formatting, start mowing down their opponents the way they always do, and put themselves in a position to win this AFC North 3 consecutive years, which would be the first time that's ever happened in this AFC North division. So that's one. It could also spiral and start to snowball. When people talk like this, how are guys going to respond internally? You've got 2 of the longest tenure. Odafe Oweh all of a sudden is one of the longer tenured Ravens on this defense too. Oh, he was a first-round pick. What was it, Sarah? 2021, if memory serves?
This is his 5th year.
Okay. And Marlon's been around since what, 2017 or so? So these are not guys. These are guys that have been in the system. These guys have been through thick and thin. They've been through some of the heartbreak, and they also know what went awry for them in this defense and this side of the ball last year. And so what do I think it's going to be? Is it going to be a spiral, or is it going to be a nipping in the bud, if you will? I think it's the latter of those two. It's early enough. It's 1 week of football down. They are sending a message, and clearly multiple messages have already been sent internally, whether it be by the staff or their veteran leaders. And how are they going to respond? They're going to have a chance to turn this ship around coming up on Sunday against a team that, sure, has a lot to prove to itself too. Feels like it has a chip on its shoulder. Beat the Ravens in one of those 2 games last year in regular season play. But we know the talent gap. It's time for the Ravens to start exercising that talent gap starting on Sunday against the Browns.
Yeah, and I'm with you. Like, I'd way prefer on Monday, to have the Browns game to be an afterthought rather than a repeat of the Raiders game where it's like, what? How did that just happen? Like, let's make sure that this is an afterthought, that people are like, well, you're supposed to beat the Browns. Fine. I'll take that over having a Jameis Winston loss that everybody's like, how did that just happen?
Yeah, correct. Thank you guys for being with us on this Thursday. There are over 2,200 of you concurrently watching today, so we appreciate you. On the way in, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Sarah, I couldn't help but notice, I think we have Mr. Loop, Tyler's father, Steve, in the live chat here. Steve, of course, I believe he and his wife, the Loops, took the trip to Buffalo for week 1. I saw that on Instagram. Matter of fact, I saw that from Trippy. I think Trippy somehow tracked him down in Niagara Falls or somewhere in Buffalo, and they were hanging out. So if this is indeed Tyler's father, Mr. Loop, it's great to have you inside the vault today. We'd love to have Tyler on at some point, of course. Sarah, Douglas H. Brown Sr. got things started. I'll let you take this.
It says, running deep, running silent. Rip Charlie Kirk.
And DHB Senior, we saw an email from you. We still have to read that. We appreciate you, as always, for gift giving. Never seems to miss an episode. He and Eric Hill, man, at PHP, leading the way. 5 new Vaultrons. By the way, Sarah, for what it's worth, we started at 813 to begin the show. Dreams has gifted an additional channel Vaultron membership as well. Queon's great to see you today. And JL Green, Sarah, is chiming in today.
Feeling up about today because it's my birthday. Well, happy birthday, JL Green. That's awesome. Hope you have a great day.
Heck yeah, he's feeling up.
So JL's birthday is 9/11. That's unfortunate, but I'm glad that he's able to rise above that and have himself a good day.
Best wishes, JL, for sure. That's a gift on top of that. He's feeling generous. Thank you for being here, James. Romy Raven is celebrating 5 months of channel membership, and she writes, so tired, only got 3 hours of sleep, but knew if I took a nap, I'd miss the vault. Ain't no way I'm going to miss T-Sizzle. And with that in mind, if you guys see me going back and forth with my inbox and my cell phone, just know it's just because I want to make sure this goes, this goes out without any kind of issue. So 1:30, less than an hour from right now, the great Terrell Suggs, T-Sizzle himself, drops inside the vault. And another one from Eric Hill, Sarah. I owe him a couple, so I'll let you read this, but just to set up your reading of it, this one's for you, Eric. We appreciate you. And Sarah, all you.
He says, just cue the meatloaf. Hashtag 6K for LJ. Hashtag 91. Hashtag Sarah and Bobby. Hashtag doing house chores.
Eric, looks like you're off then, not on duty, or perhaps not on call, because I feel like you're always on call, but hopefully you're enjoying your day. Nick writes, ELE. Everyone loves everyone. People make mistakes. That's why we have Steeler fans, Cincy fans, and Browns fans. Never forget and go Ravens. Oh, that's good right there. Dreams. And that is Queon, Sarah, chiming in.
He's got hashtag Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. It hits home. Happy I made the decision to stay. So are we, Dreams. Very happy that you made that decision. And I was in kindergarten when 9/11 happened. Hashtag hug someone you love. I was in Portugal at the time.
You were in Portugal. Mm-hmm. I was in elementary school. We got pulled out just because we were, a few hours from the city. Nobody had any clue what was going on. But I think, Queon, his continued, Sarah, willingness to share his story and what he's overcome, I don't even know if he knows the impact that can have. So Dreams, you're the man. Keep it coming. JL Green says, won first place in my fantasy football league last week, convincingly, 190 points. Second place was 130 points. That's a thumping, man. We'll see if Cleveland gets one of those this weekend. A thumping. Sarumbo, this is definitely a new one for you.
In the Lamar era, Baltimore had 11 losses while leading in the second half by 2+ scores, averaging almost 2 games a year. Hopefully, it's finally over. Ooh, hopefully is true. You just can't even have fun in the fourth quarter with a 2-score lead.
Nope, not in Baltimore.
Not in Baltimore.
Love when I see new names popping up in the super chat donor side of things, and Sarumbo is definitely a new one. Captain Hards writes, feel like Harbs and Zio are doing a disservice by keep rotating players, a key position, instead of just going with one person at linebacker and CB2. Need to be able to have that chemistry. Donovan Carter, Sarah.
Says this game will show if this team is soft or not.
No doubt. Cleveland always plays them tough. This defensive front, Sarah, look out for that defensive front. We all know who they're led by as well. Kobe Pruitt, but you want to know what? Maybe we'll have a segment on this tomorrow. I was listening to a PFF clip, Trevor Sakema.
Yeah.
He had Teron Armstead on, and Teron was talking about how just so stout and stable Ronnie Stanley not only was in the first game, but as one of the top-rated tackles league-wide, according to PFF, but also just last year and some of his battles, some of his respect with a Ronnie Stanley. And although Teron didn't have any battles with him because he's the same position as Ronnie, he was really talking about his battles with Myles Garrett over the years. And Ronnie has played Myles well. Maybe we'll talk more about that coming up tomorrow. Kobe Pruitt, what's up, Kobe? Oweh needs to have a good game in a high-pressure situation before we accept anything he has to say about team performance. He'll feast on the Browns and act like he's having a good season. This dichotomy was his MO at PSU. 7G Phil, Sarah, is celebrating 3 months of channel membership.
A shout out to Bobby and Sarah for getting Himothy Himson T Sizzle. Had to pull up for this one. Flock Nation, stand up. Hashtag Voltrons. Hashtag 9-in-1.
All right, that's kind of funny. Himothy Himson.
Yep.
7G Phil, 3 months of channel membership. We sure glad you're here.
Might have to steal that one day.
Right? That's kind of funny.
That's right.
Oh, man. And we're sure glad that Mr. 9999, Daryl Matamilov, comes in hot with a red banner. That's a Daryl dime. That's what I call it. It's 99.99 from Daryl LS117. And he says, I need Roquan shouting 60 minutes like Ray Lewis. Hashtag the meatloaf. Hashtag 19-1. Daryl, it's great to have you. Thank you for your generosity, big dog.
Look at you grab your Rode microphone and you just got all fired up by that one. How do you not get fired up with a 9.99?
Yeah, it gets me fired up, especially when Daryl comes in here asking what he needs from his defensive captain. Appreciate you, Daryl. Thank you for that generosity. Saad, I think everybody's getting fired up for Sis, Sarah. That's right. What I get the sense that Saad will bring you up in just a second. I get the sense that
here we go.
The turning of the page has happened. Everybody's had their 48, 72 hours. We'll hear from KVN in just a bit in terms of his 48-hour rule and whatnot. But I think that there's a shift right now. People are fired up for Sis to get inside this freaking vault, all right, in less than an hour from right now. And everybody's ready to go graveyard stomp job coming up on Sunday. Home opener, Cleveland, AFC North. They're talking. Everybody's talking. Here's Saad Blitz, who's talking as well.
Here, real quick. Let me play what you're talking about, the KVN clip, real quick.
What I've learned over my career is that there's usually sometimes a 24-hour rule and a 54 or a 52, 54. I got to do the math. 50. 48 hours. Wow, let me start over. Wow. That's how we start right there with laughter. That's good. Holy hell. I'm going to get killed for this. They're going to be like, damn football player. I set myself up. This is good. We all needed this.
Yeah, that was hilarious. Oh man, he did. He went on Twitter. He's like, he apologized. He's like, wow, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah. We've all been there when you're
We've
staring
all
at that
been
camera
there.
in the face, man. You know, sometimes math comes secondary. We get it, KVN. Oh man, sod blitz, Sarah, for you.
God bless said, I was 18, met in my new house with my new wife and new child for a week. Woke up to hear screaming to get downstairs and see the TV. I will never forget.
Yep. Memories pouring in from 24 years ago today. Appreciate the sentiment there. Sod blitz. And again, just in case you missed it off the top of this show, Sarah and I wanted to be sure to send all of our love to what took place in this country 24 years ago today. Just in unspeakable stuff. So let's continue with our football content today. Over 2,500 of you concurrently with us. Terrell Suggs joins us at 1:30. Sarah, where to next?
So yeah, we need to dig into some of the pressers from yesterday, especially Lamar Jackson, who was very animated. It's funny because when we were going into week 1, he was like stone cold, laser focused, not really wanting to give more than like a 1-sentence answer. But yesterday he was much more animated, and there are tons of topics that he addressed. But the first one, Bobby, that we'll get to is, I can't believe this has happened, but we might be living in a world where somehow Lamar Jackson, and I know how, it's because he's so dang likable. But I yesterday, put up this clip, and I went back and checked on it on Twitter. And lo and behold, would you believe that Bills fans were defending Lamar Jackson? We're in some type of bizarro world where last year, Ravens fans and Bills fans were at each other's throats, all for the MVP race. And maybe it'll bubble up again. Who knows? But it all has to do with that fan interaction. Lamar Jackson apologized, but did have some words. And it's the Bills fans that were in my mentions being like, Bills fan here, you don't need to apologize. That dude is wrong. He needs to be banned. And Lamar has won them over. He's just too dang likable. Here we go.
John said that you had a lengthy discussion with Eric about the incident with the fan.
Yeah.
I'm not to share what was said, but have you heard from the league about that? And what's your reaction about that whole thing a few days later?
Yeah, Eric talked to me about it. I mean, I believe everyone seen what happened. Don't get me wrong, I didn't try to, it just happened. Like, I got pushed. I'm like, what? I thought I was like outside. I wasn't even thinking about me being out there on the field, but my apologies to that whoever that was. I don't know who it was. My apologies to him. Like, just chill next time. Just, you can talk trash and stuff, but keep your hands to yourself, man. That's all I can say.
Lamar, there was also a clip that we saw. It looked like a beer bottle or a can flying toward Eric at the end of.
That's crazy. Like, stuff like that shouldn't be happening. It's not WWE. Like, we playing football out here. We don't want to. I never seen one. Don't make me look bad, y'all. Flock Nation, don't make me look bad. I never seen any one of our fans do nothing like that to an opposing team. So just keep it football. Talk trash. I know guys are gonna talk trash. I know the opposing teams are gonna talk trash. Just keep it that way. But keep your hands and keep your objects to yourself.
Have you heard anything about, from the league about any kind of, any action they might take?
No, Jameson. I talked to Eric. Eric talked to me about it, and the league had to talk to Eric, to talk to me about it. So, yeah.
He did not like the repeat question, because the question that started all off was, hey, we were told, John told us that you talked to Eric. Did you hear from the league? He said, no, I just talked to Eric. And so when Jameson came back around and asked it, he's just like the pause.
Yeah.
No, Jameson, I talked to Eric. The league talked to Eric and Eric talked to me. So he was not happy about that part. But there's only so many people that can say the words keep your hands to yourself in such a likable, non-threatening way. And he's just like, man, keep your hands and your object to yourself. Just chill. I apologize, but talk your trash, keep your hands to yourself. And I think we all saw it, including Bills fans. It's like, dude, fans, yeah, talk your trash. If you're going to give him a high five, sure. But the way, look at Lamar's head bent completely backwards. It's completely unacceptable.
Yeah, completely unacceptable. And I got to give Lamar a lot of credit for standing up there, being the bigger person, somehow apologizing to this fan, I would imagine. that was a tough thing to do. He almost kind of felt like he was biting his tongue, but he gave the apology.
Yeah.
This fan, obviously, if you guys have been living under a rock, has been banned indefinitely, not just from Highmark Stadium in Buffalo, but from all NFL stadiums. So he won't be sitting front row anytime soon. And luckily, nobody was injured here. Luckily, that frozen water bottle or frozen beer or whatever it was didn't harm or hit directly Derrick Henry. Here's a pretty filthy photo, by the way. I don't mean filthy as it being cool. This is filthy. It's disgusting. I mean, what are we doing here? This is a frozen. What is it?
It's a can. I always thought it was a bottle. This is the best, like the most clear photo I've seen of it. But that's a can.
Yeah, that's a can.
It looks like
and
it just
it's
like
frozen,
exploded
Sarah,
everywhere. Yeah,
correct. And if it's frozen, it's heavier than it would be without, right? With it not being
frozen or not. I totally agree. Frozen is going to be worse, but
yeah,
just a full can is it's gonna do damage if it hits somebody.
Yep.
What are we doing here?
Yeah. So, just commend Lamar for somehow flipping the script on Bills fans here, right? That they're actually at his defense right now because of this totally unacceptable behavior from, and you know what? Every fan base has rotten eggs, bad apples. Let's be clear, across all professional sports.
Yes.
This was taken to a degree that you see every once in a while where the fan, for whatever reason, starts to think that it's almost like, you know what it is? It's like the main character syndrome. Why do you feel like you are going to insert yourself into play action? That's what this kid did.
Yeah.
By putting his hands on two players, which was completely unprovoked, by the way. It's not like these guys ran into him. It's not like Lamar and DeAndre were like showing him up or whatever. They were celebrating DeAndre's ridiculous touchdown grab, and that is that. And he acted a fool. And now, as a result, he's going to be watching from his couch from this point forward.
Seriously, and I am glad to see, like, Buffalo kind of disavow from that. Remember that one Ravens fan that went around like fighting, like looking to beat up? Was it a Commanders fan? And he's
Jack, help me out with live chat. Jack Callis, I think his name was. He was a local guy, and he absolutely assaulted the you-know-what out of a Commanders fan in Federal Hill. Pretty sure he's been behind bars ever since. Don't quote me on that. But yes, I do remember that.
But to your point, like every fan base, it's just like, you don't represent us. Don't do this. Like you are not representing who we are all about. And so I'm glad to see like Ravens and Bills fans to come together on that, the way Commanders and Ravens fans did during that situation. It's just like, we can all get caught up in these games. We can all get passionate, but like, as Lamar said, let's just chill a little bit. Yep. But meanwhile, Lamar reiterated that they would have gone for it on 4th and 3rd. But again, he had me laughing again because he was saying it was cramps and not like the cramps or it was also cramps from the Browns game a couple years ago. But he didn't have to go off the field. So here he was explaining again what was happening to him on that 4th and 3.
Back to the last game with the cramp situation. Was that just a fluke thing for you, the first game, or something like that? A lot's being made out of why you weren't able to go back in at 4th and 3.
Well, I was a lot being made about that. But anyways, I was actually cramping the job before that, the turnover happened. But I went to the sideline. If anybody paid attention, I was drinking pickle juice on the sideline already. I'm like, Sarah, I need to get hydrated. Like, I'm cramping. I'm starting to feel cramps. And then we went back out there, and obviously, it happened. 4th and 3 happened. But if I wasn't cramping, we definitely would have went for it. We definitely would have went for it. I believe.
Where were you cramping? Where was the cramp?
My calves. Both of my calves. Like, you know how they said, like, the Browns game, I had a poop game or something? That's how I was, but I was like, I was better off because it wasn't, like, happening right then and there. Like, I just felt it, like, coming on. But, yeah, I was cramping again. I'm glad you used the vote. I don't know where that come from, because if I had to use the bathroom, I would have said it. Like, I don't got no problem with saying that. I'm a grown man.
He just brought that up out of nowhere. I didn't know pickle juice helps with cramps. Is that a thing? Obviously, it is.
Apparently, Sarah Snyder, who he references there, right? Team Nutrition, Sarah, or team
Nutritionist? Yep.
Yeah, okay. Nutritionist there, Sarah Snyder. I think some in the live chat were like, "Oh, is he talking to my Sarah?" Maybe no, not this case, but yeah.
I like that. I'm like their Sarah.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know either. But clearly this was coming on. Maybe it was because of, I don't know, having to run 75 yards at one point just to get net 19 yards. He's running for his life on that scramble drill. But yeah, I think this, well, first of all, this clears up so much, right? One, it lends more credence to the idea of what led to the 4th and 3 decision. One. Two,
Although I still think a timeout should have been called, but go ahead. I agree.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And then two, the Cleveland game, the poop game. That wasn't the poop game, right? He wants to be clear on that. How has he not addressed that since then?
I feel like he did address it. Like he said, no, like I was having cramps. He addressed it. It's just that nobody acknowledged it because they were having too much fun with their own narrative. But I remember him addressing it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that he was going back to get an IV.
Well, anyway, in one snippet, pickle juice, poop game.
And we would have gone for it.
And 4th and 3.
Yeah. Let's see here. What else? He was asked about the hit from Ed Oliver, which again, I don't think was a blatant roughing the passer, although I've seen it be called before, especially with the way Ed Oliver landed on him and kind of drove him into the ground. That to me was probably the part. Some people are saying he had 2 steps and then lunged, and you can't do that. But again, love this answer for Lamar about not getting a roughing the passer call.
Were you frustrated going back and looking at that final pass that you drew that the Bills' defensive tackle wasn't flagged for a weak hit or an illegal hit on that one?
Nah, I kind of play football, but hopefully we start getting those calls sometime soon, fast. Hopefully that don't happen again to me, but it's football, man. I don't really cry. I don't cry on the field. I don't cry at all, really. So I just play ball.
And just in case you guys needed a reminder of what that play looks like specifically, it's hard to watch, right? Here it is, Ed Oliver coming right through, just checks Lamar. I mean, just a perfectly executed, timed opportunity for Ed Oliver. And you're right, Sarah. I've seen quote unquote worse called roughing, right?
Or called for less. Like you've seen roughing the passer called for less than that.
Thank you. Yes. You start doing the replay game, and I think everything starts to look like an obvious roughing. But yeah, you're right. Like there's no question that we've seen, especially with the Mahomes of the world, right?
Yeah.
Less has absolutely been called for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then finally, as we know, obviously the 30th anniversary is this Sunday. Lamar said that he was proud to be a part of history. And Ozzie Newsome is going to be honored as a legend of the game. This is Lamar talking about his relationship with Ozzie.
Got me here, believed in me. He told me that. Actually, I remember on the visit, just talking to him, he was like, man, there's something about you. Something about you. And he was writing in his little notebook. And then for him to call me, draft night 2018, it was incredible. He actually believed in me. So, man, I always got respect, a lot of love and respect from Mr. Ozzie.
Look at this picture of these two. Isn't it already? It's just crazy how fast time goes. Look how young Lamar looks. There with Ozzie. What a historic, iconic draft class that 2018 draft class was. Obviously headlined with Lamar, but many others. And I just love how he remembered that he's sitting in a meeting room with Ozzie, and he's like, there's something about you. There's something about you. And then he remembers he gets and he writes his little notes or whatever. And I distinctly remember at the combine when everybody was talking about how Lamar should switch positions. And I wasn't following Lamar too closely during that draft process because I just didn't think the Ravens were going to draft a quarterback just because Joe Flacco was still under contract for a couple more years. And so, I mean, I knew of Lamar, but I just didn't, it just wasn't on my radar. But I do remember being like, when Ozzie was asked the question, hey, where do you see Lamar Jackson in the future? And he's like, well, we have Lamar Jackson on our draft board as a quarterback, period. And he didn't say anything else. And Ozzie was like the king of like making a point with like one sentence that's super powerful. He doesn't need to say a lot. He's like, well, I have Lamar Jackson on my board as a quarterback, period. That was it. And everybody's like, tweeting about it and whatnot. And so I imagine, like Lamar said, he's always had my back. He's always believed in me. I love and respect Mr. Ozzie. Love this relationship between these two.
I love how he always, those that are older than him or elderly figures, not that Ozzie's elderly by any stretch, but Lamar's just always paid respect to those people, like Ms. Lisa, for example. Lisa Salters, ESPN sideline reporter. Like he's always gone viral for how polite he is. And Sarah, we all know that Ozzie has had 2 Hall of Fame careers in one lifetime. And I think that's, obviously why he's been chosen as the Ravens legend of the game for this upcoming weekend. It'll be the 30th anniversary celebration. There's going to be Super Bowl participants and contributors there from both Super Bowls, in 2000 and 2012. They're going to have that flyover that you mentioned during, pregame stuff. There's going to be so much going on. And at the forefront of it is somebody that is absolutely still like, maybe in the shadows, the way he prefers to it, from a media or from a exposure standpoint. But make no mistake, Ozzie's impact still very much felt within those walls of one winning drive. And
he's still there. He's got Art Modell's old office. He's still there. He's watching film. He's talking to Eric. He definitely has influence for sure.
Yeah. And hey, just because this tweet, I was just looking off to the side so that I could get this in here. And just before we kind of wrap up the Lamar end of things, Adam Schefter just tweeted this out. Nothing crazy. Matter of fact, I'll do this a little bit bigger here just so we can fully read it. I'm guessing this is from Sashi Brown, but it's not actually stated. So Schefter says, while the league continues to review Lamar's interaction with a Bills fan, the Ravens say they are handling the matter internally. Quote, our player's safety is of the utmost importance, a Ravens official told Schefter. We have spoken to Lamar, who understands the impact of the situation about the incident, which is what he discussed yesterday during his press conference. Quote, while we will keep internal matters private, we have implemented additional security protocols both at home and on the road to better protect our players and handle negative fan interactions moving forward. So just sort of a one final nugget there on this interaction from Sunday night, Sarah, and how the Ravens internally are handling it.
Well, and I do like that within it, it's saying like they're looking to protect the players. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like you said, Lamar kind of gave his apology through his dirty teeth a little bit, but he gave his apology. And so I'm glad that they're not just like, ooh, no, a player needs to rise above. And it's like, no, like let's not have things thrown at players and let's not have fans pushing players in their helmets.
Yeah. And as we continue on with our sort of press conference review topic, if you will, something that's probably been buried under the rug given this news cycle this week, Sarah, is the fact that Joe Flacco returns to Baltimore. And we all remember what 2018 consisted of. When Lamar is drafted, Joe goes down with an injury, and Lamar, that door opened and he shut it, leading them to a division title, leading them to a playoff run, or at least a playoff berth. And then, of course, taking the league by storm in 2019, the following season. Here is what Joe Flacco himself had to say on his current relationship with Lamar all these years later.
And did you ever expect Lamar Jackson's star to rise like it has at this point?
Well, I mean, it's such a tough question to answer about anybody. But I think he was able to show pretty early on what he was capable of. I mean, he came in the year I was there and won football games, and then right away the next year got off to an awesome start. So I think he very quickly was able to show who he is, and that's a testament to the work he's put in and just the type of athlete he is.
People talk a lot about his, you mentioned athleticism, and that's the stuff that people notice because it's the standout skill. But how much has he grown as a passer and a processor of defense?
Well, I think he's a good football player. So he sees the field in a certain way. And I think when you're able to do that, then you're able to get better at things and become who you want to be in all facets of the game. I think that's the important thing. He's out there playing football, and the way he sees the field is probably unique to himself, and that's why he's able to do all those things.
How much of a relationship do you still have with Lamar? Like, do you guys stay in touch at all? Or?
We don't stay in touch, but I mean, we saw each other a couple years ago. I mean, we were very, I think we put a smile on each other's faces, and I enjoyed being with him, and I'm kind of like that with pretty much everybody I've played with. It's not like that I keep directly in touch with them, but when we see each other, it'll be like, right back to 2018. So
It doesn't get more Joe Flacco. And then what he's referring to was this backstage moment, Sarah, that they shared at the NFL Honors a couple of years ago. I think this would have been February of 2024 because it was Lamar's second MVP award. And then it was Joe Flacco's Comeback Player of the Year award that he won when he came in season and led Cleveland to the playoffs after Deshaun Watson went down with a season-ending injury. But here they are backstage, dapping each other up, having a moment. Lamar's all smiles, Joe's all smiles, and maybe we'll get another moment like this post-game coming up on Sunday where they met up in the Meadowlands a couple years ago.
I do think it's funny when players are asked, hey, do you keep up with this person? It's like, I can't imagine Lamar Jackson and Joe Flacco texting or calling each other. Like, and maybe it's because I'm not like a really big long distance. Like, I just don't like talking on the phone a ton. Like if we have something to say, like, let's call each other. But yeah, I'm not imagining like Joe being like, hey buddy, what's up, Lamar? Like while he's got like his 5 kids and Lamar's down in Florida or something like that. But that being said, you can tell that Joe has a lot of love for him. And you know what? The feelings are mutual. Here's Lamar.
Just him being in the meeting room and how cool he was with things he would say, and how funny he was. Like, I don't know if people know, but Flack's funny, dog. And he used to have me rolling, man. As a rookie, bro, I used to be like, man, this man just say stuff like so nonchalant, and it's great, man. He's a great person to be around.
It is nonchalantly. I said that the other day when he had the quote of like, when the Cleveland media asked him about the Ravens doing the 30th season anniversary with them coming to town. He's like, well, they do what they do. And everybody can react how they want. And it's like, period. That's it. Nothing more to say. Like, and it was just like, I don't know why that was so funny to me, but it was. And then when he wants to be funny, again, he's funny, but it's so, do you remember when he ate the W? Do you remember that? Yeah. Like he goes up to podium and like nobody asks any questions. He just goes up to a post-game podium and starts eating the W. Like I think it was Jameis Winston that started it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I just remember I was there at the game. I was there in the presser, and I was like, "What is Joe doing?" And everybody's like, "What's that?" He's like, "Oh, Dennis Pitta dared me, so I did it." We're like, "Oh, okay."
Classic.
Like, he's so funny.
So classic. And he did talk, Sarah, of course, about how his time in Baltimore came to an end. Looking back at it all these years later.
You leave the Ravens on good terms?
I think so. We all know kind of the story there. And yeah, like I have nothing but love for the people in that facility and the people in that city. I mean, for sure. It's one of those things like, in the NFL, there's a business side of it, and things happen. I'm fortunate to be where I am today and be in this position, but I have nothing for love for that city and for that organization. I mean, I was a small school guy that they took a little bit of a chance on early on in the draft, and I have so many good memories with those people and that city and that stadium. So a very special place.
Is it special for you to go back there and get the ball?
Listen, it's been a while now, so you kind of just. I think I'm very capable of just seeing it as another division game, but it will be cool to go back in that stadium. I haven't had a chance to do it since I've played there. I really love playing there. It's an awesome place to play. It's an awesome venue. It's an awesome atmosphere. They do a great job. So I love playing there. So I think in that respect, it will be pretty cool to go back for sure.
Joe, is it kind of weird that you haven't been back there? Like the schedule hasn't worked out?
Yeah.
You've been there. And what do you think the fans, how do you think they're going to react to you?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, listen, I love the fans there. And I think, I think they have, good memories of me playing football there. So, I don't think anybody's going to be crazy bad. But at the same time, they're rooting for their Ravens. So that's what you can expect.
Oh, Joe, there he is on leaving the Ravens on good terms. Sarah, I'm sure it's a lot easier 8 years later to share those sentiments than it was 8 years ago.
Yeah, and like I felt like he didn't take the bait. Like, did you leave on good terms? Like, Lamar was asked something similar. He's like, he was asked, was it awkward for you in your rookie year? And he's like, no. And it was just like, I really don't think that was lip service. Like now that we know the personality of Lamar and we already know the personality of Joe, Like I'm sure like they knew what was going on. Like Lamar was just beginning his career there. You're drafting a first round pick. So I'm sure Joe Flacco saw the writing on the wall, but he's also like chill enough and has a big enough perspective that he's like, well, that's the way this business is. And so I can't just sit here and sulk. And I still remember in that Chargers playoff game, fans in the stand started chanting for Joe Flacco to come back in. And John Harbaugh said after the game that Joe Flacco went up to him and said, no, you have to stick with Lamar. Like he could have had a selfish moment and been like, ooh, put me in. Let me see if I can be the hero and try to, bring us back. But Joe had accepted that the Ravens were turning the page. And I'm sure as a young quarterback, as a rookie, he wouldn't have wanted that moment taken away from him, even if he wasn't playing up to his own standard. And I love that he went to John and said, no, don't take him out. You stick with him because he's the one that got us here in the first place, So, and I also remember like the day after he was drafted, I remember being kind of upset. There was like an ESPN article that was pitting Joe and Lamar against each other. And they made it seem like Joe was like upset by it. And I remember I wrote a late for work article that the headline, they let me write my headline on this. I was like, this Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson narrative is stupid, and I was like, they let me put that up on the Ravens website. And I like blasted it for already trying to put a wall between the two and pit them against each other. And maybe some quarterbacks would be pitted against each other. Maybe some quarterbacks would hate each other just because of the competition that they're in. But that's not who Joe Flacco was, and that's not who Lamar Jackson was.
Here's how John Harbaugh began his press conference yesterday.
Looking back, what an amazing run, and what a era, for the Ravens at the Joe Flacco era. I think, he was in there, and the early part of his career was with Ray and Ed and those guys, and the later part of his career with another set of guys, and he just he's iconic, I think, in Baltimore football history, and so respect that and admire that, and still keep in touch with him, except not this week. And this week, it's not about that for us as a football team. It's about us getting prepared for a good quarterback that knows how to play the game, that's capable of making plays against you, and we're going to have to be at our very best to defend against Joe and the whole offense.
Similar sentiment shared by Joe as well.
Coach Harbaugh?
I haven't. I mean, we have over the last year, for sure, but not this week. It's crazy to think, though. Me and John came in together. I can picture myself up in his office my rookie year as we were getting ready to make a playoff run, just kind of looking at each other like, man, how cool is this? So it's also pretty cool that, we're 18 years in and still doing this thing. So, anytime you have, that kind of, anytime you've been through, the kind of stuff that we've been through together, you have a pretty cool relationship. So.
Yeah, we're always gonna love this era. And here it is, Bobby. I just had to go back and reminisce it.
You got
There's
it.
the article. There it is, still up. Late for work on April 30th. This is 2018. Overblown reaction to Joe Flacco tweet is stupid. Oh, and also Ravens draft grades.
Wait, hold on a second. Keep zooming in just for my humor. Zoom in on that cover photo. Come on now. Let's go.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me see. I'm doing this wrong. Here we go.
Let's see the young gun. Come on now.
Look at her. Boy, was I young, and I don't know. That's not a great photo.
Hey, how about the redheaded tint you got going on there?
You think that's red? I just think that's more brunette. I think it was the lighting.
You think so?
Yeah. I tell you what. Those were some crazy days writing these I said, I'm just going to say it. The overreaction to one line from quarterback Joe Flacco declining to talk about the Ravens drafting Lamar Jackson is stupid.
This is great. Look at this.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. It was Jameson's tweet. It says Ravens quarterback Joe Flacco declined to be interviewed at the team's draft fest. I don't think I'm talking today. He had like a marketing person right next to him. I totally remember the circumstances of it. I was so mad that they were making this dramatic when it wasn't. And before they even knew who was being drafted, the marketing department always sets up the draft fest at the stadium. And so Joe Flacco was already scheduled to come, but he was supposed to be there to interact with the fans. He wasn't there to talk with the media, but the media knew he'd be down there, and they never go down there, Bobby. You know this. Yeah. On draft day, they're all at the facility.
Right.
So they try to like cherry pick it and try to come into this fan fest. And Joe was just like, hey guys, I don't think I'm supposed to be talking to you today. And so they took that and took it into, oh, he's mad. He's all in his feelings about Lamar Jackson being, I was so.
This is so good. A walk down memory lane. Look at this is your baby right here. This is your prized possession.
I love that Late for Work is still going. Listen, I started Late for Work when my son was born. That was in 2009. I wrote it until right before the season started in 2018, and I love that it's still going because it's like, okay, I left my own mark upon the Ravens organization.
Yeah,
So,
look at that.
there we
April 2018. And so you moved to Columbus when?
Let's see. It was August 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
So people forget that, you worked there for over a decade.
13 years.
And you get an awesome opportunity as a family to go to Columbus. Lamar is drafted right around this time, right, of this article.
Yeah.
And then you leave the market later that summer, continue to stay on with them remotely for a little while, right? And then all of a sudden, Lamar takes the league by storm, and you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a second. What am I doing in Columbus?
Yeah. Well, hey, you have different seasons of life, that's for sure.
Look at how it all worked out.
Yeah, it all worked out. Doing just fine. There we go.
By
Sorry,
the way-
thank you for letting me go down memory lane there.
Absolutely. I'm glad we did. And then just kind of piggybacking off of the statement that was given to Schefter from a Ravens official about this whole incident in Buffalo, Jamison Hensley noting that Lamar will not face, and perhaps this is official, will not face any discipline from the National Football League for his altercation with a fan. The NFL said, quote, the matter has been addressed by the club and there is no further action from the league. So that is actually a pleasant surprise, Sarah, because I know I was saying a couple days ago that I thought maybe just by the book, some ridiculous fine print within the code of conduct, that because Lamar retaliated, much like players that retaliate on the field, even though they didn't provoke the situation or they weren't the fire starter. Yeah. That I thought he might get his wrist slapped with a fine, but it doesn't even look like that's been the case. And I commend the league for doing so.
Yep. I'm glad to see it too. I'm glad to see it too for sure. So should we get to some super chats? Maybe we can do quick hits even before Sis gets here if we can get through the super chats.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We'll get to as many super chats as we can, guys, here. If you have them, get them in here. We got Terrell Suggs, T-Sizzle himself, 2-time Super Bowl champ, is coming on this show Inside the Vault in 15 minutes from now. We left off with Saad Blitz, Sarah, so Kobe Pruitt gets us back and started.
He says, just a reminder that words matter and don't let people lead you to hate your fellow man. We all deserve love. Well said, Kobe.
And as if he hasn't already done enough today, Eric Hill is back with a $20 super chat. Look at the updated cover photo. He's definitely
I
rocking.
love it. He hasn't had a bad cover photo yet, but for some reason, this one just it's like in the line of duty. You know what I mean?
I agree. I like that he continues to share it with us. Thank you, Eric. So Lamar was being nice. I almost squared off 2 lieutenants at the same time when I was stationed in Korea. My optimism knows no limits, but don't invade my personal space, please. I like this peaceful version of me.
Okay.
Wait a second. So we continue to learn about Eric here. You were stationed in Korea. Where, Eric? Where? I would love to know where. I lived there for a month myself in Pyeongchang during the 2018 Winter Olympics. I'd imagine maybe you were more towards the border, maybe more towards Seoul. Let us know, Eric. Would love to know.
But I also don't invade his personal space. I like this peaceful version of Eric also.
Right? But he's channeling off Lamar's energy here. I like it.
Yeah.
John Davis, Sarah, this one's for you.
Says, love Lamar, but cramping with the game on the line is a terrible excuse. Is it an excuse or is it what was happening? Reminds me of Anthony Richardson last year. Just hand the ball to Derek.
Wait a second.
I'm still here for a timeout. I'm here for a timeout and to talk it over and see what Lamar can do.
Deshaun, those are strong words, man. AR essentially tapped out last year. And so are you really making that comparison? That's a tough stretch for me. That's a little bit steep. Mike Hozempa is celebrating 1 month of channel membership. And he writes, let's go Ravens. Row restructuring. Is Eric up to something? And let's go jump ahead to that quick hit right now since Mike got us there. And this is from Brian McFarland earlier today, Sarah, and he wrote, of course, Ravens salary cap analyst, Russell Street Report, friend of the show. Brian says, still tracking down details, but it appears the Ravens did a simple restructure of Roquan Smith's contract. Let me go pull up the other side of the screen here to create some breathing room cap space. It looks like they converted $12 million of his $15 million base salary into a bonus, creating $9 million in cap space for this year. More details to be determined, and then came in with a correction that it's not $9 million that's been created. It is $8 million in cap space created.
But to answer the question, I mean, maybe EDC could make a move. I mean, who knows? Maybe he's going to go sign Jadeveon Clowney, which is what everybody's or a lot of people have been asking for. But at the same time, like I think even before going into the season, we knew this was going to be needed, just due to like needing to have money in case there are injuries. I would think Eric DaCosta also likes to have money available in case there's an in-season trade right before the deadline, which is usually around what, week 7-ish, something like that.
Early November.
Early November, yeah. And so like you just need to have a slush fund in season. And so I'm not necessarily taking this as a sign that a move is imminent, although I guess we can't rule it out.
This year's trade deadline, just for those of you that want to mark your calendars accordingly, Tuesday, November 4th. Trade deadline. Tuesday, November 4th. So that's what we're working towards. Appreciate you, Mike, because we had a quick hit on that, and it's almost like you knew. All right.
That happened yesterday, too, where the super chats were getting us to our quick hits. I was like, hey, we're multitasking. This is great.
We need that. If only they knew how much we actually needed that.
I know.
Eric Hill is thanking Charlotte Winder, perhaps. Don't be surprised your adopted son is there if your adopted son is there for the holidays. Hashtag I've been adopted again. Hashtag I pray for your son's safety. So I'm not understanding the context here.
We may be missing it in the live chat.
Yeah, there might be a conversation being had with Charlotte and Eric. But I do think Eric told us recently that he is adopted, right? I think he did tell us that recently. Anyway, Darren Alexander is not only a patron, but he's also a channel member, and he's also a super chat donor in this aspect right here. So, Darren, thanks for all the support that you give us. God King's like, hi. What's up, dude? How you doing, God King? Meltrap. Oh, this ought to be good. Meltrap doesn't give super chats often. When he does, he comes after me typically.
Oh, here we go.
Bobby, why your soft arse keep putting people in a timeout? Because I want Flack back. You're not a fan. Move around. You want to know why I'm putting him in a timeout? Because they're making horrific jokes about not only the anniversary in this country, but also what took place yesterday in Utah, Meltrap. So that's why I'm doing it. Eric Hill, Sarah, this one's for you.
That's my uncle at Ground Zero in the background. Oh, okay. I have his profile picture. It says, I was at Camp Casey about 30-ish miles from the DMZ.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So that's so a couple different things here. One, like you mentioned, the new profile photo is his uncle at Ground Zero. That is, wow. Definitely want to hear more on that,
But
Eric.
in the background, I think it's Eric Hill in the foreground.
Yeah, and maybe it's like an artwork that he had done, because remember the first super chat today, right, was that his uncle inspired him.
Yep.
To get into this line of duty and protect others. And so perhaps this was a piece of artwork that was done. But then the second part of this, Sarah, is 30 miles from the DMZ, aka the demilitarized zone, which I think, Eric, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is the area that separates the North from South Korea. And it's now become a big tourism side of things, Sarah, with how everything's transpired with North Korea over the years. And my brother John actually just visited the DMZ when he was in South Korea in Seoul. We couldn't when we were there, Sarah, with NBC, because we were told and tensions were a lot different in 2018 than they are now between the U.S. and North Korea, or between North and South at that time. But we were not allowed to go to the DMZ, or else we were told we would be put on a plane back to the U.S. So we didn't even bother going over there whatsoever. Thanks, Eric. Adit says, off topic, but the Orioles promoted Mike Elias to team president. Yeah, Britt Garoli here for the Athletic. This is a pretty big deal from an Orioles standpoint. that Mike Elias, Sarah, who's been GM now for several years, is being promoted up essentially into the front office as president, and the team is starting a search for a general manager under him as we speak, which is a pretty big deal. He's been at the forefront of this Orioles rebuild. Obviously, they took a big step back this year. They will not make the postseason. They've been playing really good of late. They've actually just been walking off every opponent this week in the last few days. But this is, from an Orioles standpoint, this is a big deal in terms of their framework moving forward and who's going to be Mike Elias's successor. Sarah, this one's for you. Alex B, $20 super chat. Orange banners attached.
Says, I personally love trash talk from the opposing team because it puts pressure on us. I wish there would be more of it, honestly. See the 2000 Ravens.
Thank you, Alex.
2000 Ravens were talkers, and they could back it up.
Yes, they were. Saad Blitz says the roster is never done till the deadline. Cap, 1 million to 9 million. Deshaun Davis writes, yes, 1,000% take a timeout, whatever. Players play through broken bones, LOL, standing tall on what his super chat was a few moments ago.
Yeah, in his super chat, I mean, a lot of people agree with him that it was an excuse. Some people were disagreeing. So lively discussion there in the chat.
Thanks, Deshaun. Eric Hill writes, that's a member from his department. I was in high school at the time. So this is a legitimate photo.
Oh, okay.
Of his uncle, and we just can't see it, Eric, which is why we're asking these questions. It probably sounds dumb, and we just can't, it's not that zoomed in. So Eric clarifies that his new profile photo is a member from his department, meaning his uncle's department on Ground Zero at the time of this photo taken 24 years ago today. He says, I was in high school at the time. Yes, for Korea. Fun fact, I mistakenly got to visit North Korea. Gulp on that one. What was that all about? That visit must have been something. North Korea is a very interesting place. Scary place. Injury report from yesterday, partner. I'll let you take it.
Yeah, so those that were not at practice yesterday was Isaiah Likely, Nnamdi Madubuike, and Pat Ricard. That none of them practiced at all. Jair Alexander was there, but was limited. We already know Isaiah Likely and Ricard dealing with the foot and calf respectively. Not good signs that they weren't there yesterday. When you miss that much time, I feel like you need to start practicing from a Wednesday to even be a candidate to play in the game. Meanwhile, though, Nnamdi Madubuike is a new missing player from practice, but John Harbaugh said that he said, quote, he's dealing with a little something and should be out there tomorrow, which is today. And Bobby, I don't know if we're getting any practice reports yet. Have you seen any coming in of
Not
participation?
quite.
It's usually around this time. I'm sure we'll find out today before we log off whether or not Nnamdi returned.
Yeah, not quite yet. Related to some practice notes. We're about 5 minutes out, by the way, for those of you who would like to extend the show with us, to inviting Terrell Suggs inside the vault for the very first time. We're very excited about one of the best guests that we've ever had, I think, Sarah, up there with the Kurt Warners, with the Steve Youngs, of course. So that'll be happening in 5 minutes time. We told you about the Roquan Smith nugget there from Brian McFarland, and you brought this one in from the polarizing Jerry Coleman.
Polarizing is always good for TV and radio. So that's, why he's been around for so long. But he tweeted earlier this week. He said, talk show folks who never go to a Ravens practice or game commenting on Harbaugh's future really don't know what's going on. It's one game. He, meaning Harbaugh, didn't fumble nor blow pass coverage. Good thing the team owner doesn't think the same way after week one. So I don't know who exactly Jerry Coleman is referring to. And I just want to say this. Jerry Coleman is one of my favorite people at the press conferences. He is not afraid to ask anything and everything. He often gets some of the best quotes out of players and coaches. Like he just hits things right on. He can kind of like give the questions that's in Ravens fans' minds all the time. So I love him there. And so, however, I feel like this is one of a couple condescending remarks to people who do have talk shows such as ourselves and many others who are on YouTube or have podcasts and this and that, who like that's fine if you don't think that John Harbaugh should be let go. Neither one of us have said so, although I do feel like this year is massive for him. And if they don't win the Super Bowl, Steve Bisciotti might be thinking, how many more bites of this apple do I give John Harbaugh? He's obviously a phenomenal coach, but I also have a generational player. Do I give somebody else a bite at the apple? That's kind of what we've kind of felt this week, right? Not that we're calling for him to be fired, but that, pressure should be on. So anyway, so if you have an argument, though, against somebody who is calling for John Harbaugh's future, just make it. Like, I don't know what being at practice, and to be honest with you, the beat reporters are only really at practice during training camp. The rest of the year, you're only allowed in for the first 15, 20 minutes for warm-ups. You're not actually watching practice, but we all hear and listen to the same press conferences and the locker room scrums and all that. Some of them will get some one-on-one conversations for sure, which is valuable. But like, just make the argument that Harbaugh should stay. Like, I don't know. It's like Ryan Clark earlier this week kind of like said to Peter Schrager, like, oh yeah, that's a non-player analysis, and like almost as if you don't matter because you didn't play football. Or like when John Harbaugh says, oh, the people at the end of the bar, like it just kind of like is kind of condescending a little bit, that it's like, okay, well, because we're not at practice that we can't watch the game and have some takeaways. And again, as I said earlier in the show, that if Zach Orr is already giving ultimatums to his players after week 1, it's because of it's being a same problem that's spanned more than one game. It's spanned into last year and maybe even further. And so I think it's just disingenuous to say, oh, it's only week 1, and so you can't be concerned. Obviously, I don't think you should be saying, hey, the season's over, but like, you can be concerned about a pattern that we've seen over many years. And so anyway, much love, but it's just like there have been some condescending pokes to like people in our space to act as if like, so should players now say, well, players say to reporters that are there every day, well, you have never played my position, so you don't get to have an opinion. I just don't think that's how it works. Just make the argument without saying, well, you're not at practice, so you don't know.
Oof, well said. Yeah, Ryan Clark too, been under fire since that Peter Schrager set segment on ESPN. And speaking of ESPN, Dan Orlovsky and his research team there, Paul Hembo, put up just a ridiculous statistic on this Bills loss. Over the previous 2 seasons, so 23 and 24, quarterbacks that posted a 92 plus, meaning 92 and over QBR in a game, went 43-0, unbeaten in those games. Lamar's was 94 flat. So over that 92 QBR, 94 flat on Sunday night. And Dan went on to say, nobody plays that well and loses practically ever, which leads you to just yet another realization that this was an epic collapse on Sunday night. And game day threads, partner.
Sorry, I messed you up. I just saw this come up in Twitter.
Oh boy. Where's the superstitious folk?
The superstitious folk are going to see this as the kiss of death. I think this is the NFL Network has put out their game preview picks for Browns Ravens. This is 1, 2, 3, 5. This is a 10 for 10 sweep. All 10 of the NFL Network analysts, from Daniel Jeremiah to Adam Rank to who else do we have here? Why am I forgetting his name?
You got Bucky Brooks on there. You got
Bucky
Cameron
Brooks. Who's
Wolf.
MJD again?
Take your pick. MJD is Maurice Jones-Drew, former running back.
Take your pick. Take your pick. It's 10 for 10. Ravens over Browns. Some of these spreads are huge. Daniel Jeremiah has it 34-20.
Yeah.
How about 31-17 from Colleen Wolfe? 30-15, 33-13. So people are expecting a beatdown, and I hope the Ravens deliver. These are the expectations that we should be having. You know what I mean?
Oh boy, there it is. Where are the superstitious people at? I'm sure they're out there. And here are your game day threads as well. It's going to be purple on white at the bank, the home opener, and somebody, Sarah, who knows a whole thing or two about home openers in Baltimore has just popped into the waiting room. We're talking about a 2-time Super Bowl champ. We're talking about an NFL Defensive Player of the Year back in 2011. What about his Rookie of the Year honor in 2003? He was a first-team All-Pro in 2011, a second-team All-Pro in 2008, a 7-time Pro Bowler, forced fumbles leader in 2011. We could go on and talk about these accolades. He is a Ravens Ring of Honor man, and he is T-Sizzle himself, who's making his debut here inside the vault. Terrell Suggs, kind enough to spend a few minutes getting ready for week 2 and the home opener. It's great to have you on, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Terrell,
Absolutely.
it's kind of a huge weekend. Obviously, it's a division rival game. It's a home opener, but obviously it's the 30th season anniversary. I imagine you'll be flying in with some other legends. What's the weekend going to look like for you?
I'm pretty much gonna be watching it from my couch. You know, I have a boss now. He's about a year old, and I pretty much got to ask him for permission to go do certain things. Otherwise, he'll throw a fit and wreak havoc on the whole house. I'm talking about my 1-year-old son. But so I'm pretty much going to watch it from the house this weekend. But I do plan on making some trips to Baltimore to see our boys kind of go on this run this year.
And of course, you know who's coming back to the bank this weekend. It's your former teammate. It's a 40-year-old now, by the way, a 40-year-old in Joe Flacco who's still playing good football. What are your thoughts on his homecoming?
I think they're gonna love him. They're gonna love to see Joe back. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna help him a little bit because you know it's the game. You know, I also had the privilege of going back and playing. You know, against my former home fans. You know what I'm saying? And like they're gonna show him love, but they want him to lose. Unfortunately, they don't want him to be successful and not have too good of a game. They just want him to finish healthy. We'll say that. And I think it's going to be a good thing, man. I think it's good for the sport. I think it's good. You know, he get to come back, play against his old team, play against, you know, Lamar. They was in the same quarterback room together, you know, Lamar's rookie year. So it's just going to be a good homecoming, but unfortunately, someone has to lose.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be fortunate on the Ravens side because they cannot afford to go 0-2 the way they did last year. Yeah, that can't be happening. And it certainly can't happen at the hand of Joe Flacco as much as we love him and appreciate the Super Bowl trophy from him and the rest of you guys. Terrell, kind of put on your analyst hat for us if you could a little bit. Obviously, the defense struggled in that fourth quarter against Josh Allen, had one of those collapses that unfortunately we've seen too often. I guess, like, what did you see that went wrong what could have been done to prevent such a collapse?
I think it's quicksand. I think it's like the harder you fight, the more things start to go wrong. That's when you kind of just got to go back to the basic. You got to be like, all right, this is our reality now. Yeah, we're in a fight. We had this game won, but now we're in a fight. You know, I think that's when, you know, it's got to clock into the team that, look, all we got to do is stop them once and we're pretty much, we got the game back. And it just never happened. Josh Allen, he's a very good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He's showing you why, you know, he was an MVP candidate. I mean, he won it, you know what I'm saying, but I'm biased. I think Lamar should have won it. But, you know, he showed you why he's an MVP. Buffalo's been good for years. You know what I'm saying? They've been a good team, well coached, and they won their opener on their home field after being down. They had a fourth quarter comeback. You know what I'm saying? It was unfortunate. We was on the losing end of it. But you got to get back to playing football. You know what I'm saying? You got to do the little things. And I don't think, like, you know, if you're a player, you understand that no one play wins or loses a game. You know what I'm saying? It's a collective of plays. And you have to get back to the basic and nip all that stuff in the bud that's costing you the game in the fourth quarter. So,
Terrell, not sure if you've caught Marlon Humphrey's comments from yesterday, but he's the longest tenured defensive Raven at this point. And
what did he say?
Well, Sarah, you want to fire up the clip for us if you could?
It's a little bit longer because I put together so much. Maybe I'll like summarize it because it's like a 2 to 3 minute clip. So, but basically he said that John Harbaugh told them that they're not a mature defense yet. And I think that what he meant by that was obviously they have veteran players, but they're maybe not doing their job in the pass coverage and the pass rush aren't kind of like playing off of each other. And then Zach Orr has already kind of given them an ultimatum and said, hey, we're not going to do this like last year where we're not calling guys out as much. He's like, if you don't play right, you're not going to be out on the field. So they've already given an ultimatum that we're gonna have to bench you if you can't do the job that we're giving you. Because Marlon Humphrey said a lot of those coverages, he said, we knew exactly what was happening. We practiced the coverages, but then we just didn't execute them. And so that was kind of it, that they aren't mature yet, and that they will be benched if they're not doing their jobs.
Okay. I agree with Marlon, and I agree with Zach too. I have the tremendous amount of support in Zach Orr, because Zach, not only is he been the coordinator, he's been on the coaching staff for a long time. He also played with us. He understands what that Raven standard is. You know what I'm saying? So, and what it means to be a Raven, and what is expected of you when you put on that black and purple and put on that Raven decal. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely got tremendous amount of confidence in Zach, and I believe in Marlon Humphrey. I think what they're talking about is, kind of the chemistry. 11 guys seeing exactly the same thing and knowing exactly what we're getting and what this person's supposed to do, who's got to stop what, whose job is what. And I think, you got some new pieces, you you're plugging in guys here, you're plugging in guys there, and, guys are trying to come into their own, but it all has to be a single unified front. We had our defense, they kind of gave us the nickname Organized Chaos. You know what I'm saying? It was like, yeah, it looks crazy, but all 11 players on defense knew what the assignment was, what we got to do, you know what I'm saying, and do your job. Be accountable, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's just what they're lacking right now. It's kind of the chemistry. And like they said, we're going to start holding guys accountable. We're going to start calling guys out. And, we never had that problem. We kind of policed ourselves. Like, if we knew, like, where the leak was, where there's leakages, and a machine don't work unless all its parts are working. You know what I'm saying? Like, we knew, like, if one of our parts wasn't handed up to part, like, hey, you better get your ass in, in gear. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of policed ourselves, and I think they need to get back to that. Like Marlon, exactly. Like if someone busting a coverage or something, if someone's not being where they're supposed to be, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like, I don't think coaches need to do that. That need to be kind of like a players' conversation, because you will always have a tremendous amount of respect and accountability for a man that takes the field with you, that lines up beside you out there, in between those white lines. So, they probably need to start policing themselves.
And who do you feel like should be at the forefront of that? Is that somebody like Marlon? And is it Roquan Smith? Like, who are the guys that you feel like should be playing that role?
I think, just like like I always joke, Ray Lewis was our general, you know what I'm saying? And Ed Reed was our captain, and the rest of us, kind of in spaces were lieutenants. You know what I mean? Myself, alone, not up on the front line. Like, we was accountable for, our line, our position, so to say, you know what I'm saying? And Ray had the whole defense as a whole, but he was responsible for the linebackers, and Ed had the back end covered. So I think it's a collective thing, you know what I'm saying? So I think all guys, if you've earned that, you know what I'm saying, to kind of, not call guys out, but hold guys accountable. I guess it's the same thing, yeah.
Sis, I think where I was trying to go, like, regarding Marlon's comments here, is that, pressure's mounting in a sense. You've got guys that are on expiring contracts that are a part of this core. The expectation is that Lamar and the Kyles, right, and the Derricks and so on and so forth will be the Ronnies. Like, they're going to be here for the foreseeable future. And those are obviously significant core pieces. But as this defense is not creating turnovers when it matters the most in the postseason the way that it once was, right? And you've probably seen the stats on this blown lead epidemic over the last several years, where they have not been comfortable enough in consistently closing out games with 2-score leads in the fourth quarter. And so I guess what I'm trying to ask you is what's it going to take? I mean, there is a certain level of pressure that's mounting right now. And I think when you have the longest tenured defensive player in Marlon Humphrey, after 1 week of football, he's old enough to remember what took place the first 10 weeks from a passing defense last year. Like, it feels significant to us that he came out after 1 week and made this kind of stand.
Well, I think that, it's two ends of that. Like, we could say it's like after 1 week, You know, we had the lead in the fourth quarter. I mean, but then again, it's only week 1. It's a long season. A lot of things can happen throughout the course of the season. And we've also seen where they've won every game and still didn't win a Super Bowl. You know, what was that? I want to say it was 2019, 2020, where they went 14-2. You know, the best thing football has ever seen, and you know, didn't win the Super Bowl that year. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's double-ended, but then again, Marlon Humphrey, he kind of knows what's going on. So maybe, like, only the people inside the locker room would know. Marlon's a veteran guy. You know, he's been one of the premier corners in the NFL for a long time. You know what I'm saying? So I think, you know, we kind of just got to fill it out. I'm not hitting the panic button. Like, yeah, you know, teams have, you know, yeah, they have given up the lead in the past, but you know, it's still like the ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl. Like, you can give up leads as long as you're winning. Like, people probably won't fret too much, but you just got to get it fixed. It can't continue to happen. Otherwise, you're going to continue to happen the same misfortunes that you've been having.
So from a player perspective, you know, like, you're right. It's only week 1, and sometimes that can be blown out of proportion, that like the season's not over, nothing like that. But like you brought up 2019, where like it's 14-2, that record, and then they didn't even look like themselves. And then it seemed to happen again in that AFC Championship game, and then into 2023, and then it happened again in the divisional round against the Bills in 2024. And so I guess what I'm asking, like, as a player who's been in there before, when that kind of trend happens and on the outside, people are saying, man, there must be something psychological going on there. Maybe they're too soft. Maybe it's getting in the back of their heads. Or is it something simply as, no, there's like a reason every time there was a fumble here, there was a missed 2-point conversion there. Like, is it really just because that's how it like played out that year? Or is it something that could be like, now it's building up in the back of their heads?
I think it may be the latter. It's like, here we go again feeling. You know what I'm saying? And I think every guy who's out there is aware of it, like, not again. And like I said, like, you know, the comment I made earlier about quicksand, it's like, I'm not going to let this happen again. So sometimes the harder you fight, the deeper you like put yourself. So one bad thing leads to another, and you're trying to prevent, all right, I got to prevent the next bad thing. I'm not going to let that happen. Then something else happen. And then, all right, I'm not going to let this happen again. Something else, and then you feel it. The pressure now is weighing on you. Like, oh my God, is this really where we are? I guarantee you, like, you know, when they were driving in that fourth quarter, everybody had that same feeling, like, here we go again. Here we go again. And, you know, everybody was like, yo, it's not a Ravens game if they don't give you a heart attack. You know what I'm saying? So, and we don't want that to be the reputation. You don't want that to be your season. You're supposed to win the game. You're supposed to win. Now, granted, they went up to Buffalo. It was tough. I don't think I ever won a game in Buffalo. It's a very difficult place to win at. You know what I'm saying? As y'all know, Bills Mafia, they're very passionate. They're like the Cleveland fans. They're very passionate about their team. And it's a very difficult place to win. It's a simple fact that we had it, you know, 2 years in a row. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, to lose like this, it's unfortunate in week 1. You know, you lost in the same place that ended your season last year. You know, but like I said, it's a long season. You just got to get it fixed. And you got to get it fixed, like, right away. There's no time to spare. Because everybody, as you clearly see, this is an issue.
It says, you know, it's been a loud week for your former coach. It's been a loud couple of years with some of the underperformance in the postseason, and sometimes he's the easy, you know, on the opposite end of like where the finger ends up being pointed to within the fan base, of trying to essentially divvy up blame and make sense of this underperformance, right? It's been un-Raven-like, if you will, from the standard of excellence that they've over 30 years now, which of course is the anniversary this weekend, as we know. How do you balance, whether it be as a former player, as a fan of your former organization, or just simply from the business side of things? How do you balance the fact that you know, it's year 8 for Lamar Jackson, expectations are sky high, and yet they've underperformed in the postseason? How much of that blame should be pointed at the coach?
I think very little. I think we had a firm understanding as players is that when you cross them white lines, nobody can save you. Only you can save you. Like, we got the plan. It's our job to go out there and execute the plan. I hate that, every time something goes wrong, which is, he's the head coach. This is why he's in that job. He's going to take the blame if the team lost. But from a player's perspective, when we see what's going on, John Harbaugh's not out there running and throwing any balls. He's not tackling anybody. He's not covering anybody. You know what I'm saying? This is our plan. You got to go out there and execute. And as we clearly see, the plan was working. We had the lead. It was working. But like I said, one misfortune after another has nothing to do with the coaching. You know what I'm saying? If it's 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, you don't, run a 7-yard route. You know what I'm saying? Like, go get the first down. Go get the first down. I know on paper it says, yeah, you're running at 7, but we need a first down. At some point, the players has got to be accountable. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, we all itching to win. Like, we all been right there. We all been right there for years. You all been right there for years. You know what I'm saying? And you just can't get over hump. And I don't think that's, the coach. It's like, we haven't played the same team every year. It hasn't been the same team knocking us out of the playoffs every year. You know what I'm saying? It's been a different team, different case of a different set of circumstances. And you know what I'm saying? And it's hard to replace a winning coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, Harbs is a winner. You know what I'm saying? I think he's a winner. And I think it's unfair. It's like, yeah, like, we all want to win the Super Bowl. We all want to win a Super Bowl. But you take a gamble and you try to bring in another coach, you thinking you're gonna match the success. I don't think that, and not in this case. Not in this case.
I wanted to get your thoughts real quick on the outside linebacker room for obvious reasons. So Odafe Oweh actually spoke a little bit about, again, taking accountability that, they're kind of under fire for not maintaining their pass rush lanes, letting Josh Allen get outside the pocket, didn't contain him in there. What's your analysis on this outside linebacker group? And specifically, I wanted to get your thoughts on Odafe Oweh and the rookie Mike Green.
The rookie's a rookie. You know what I'm saying? I think we shouldn't put too much on the rookie. He's gonna make, he got to impact the game when he can. You know what I'm saying? You don't want rookies are rookies. It's hard for them to come in and like catch the grasp of the game, and not only that, the speed and the knowledge of professional football is not like college. It's a world different. So, it's not so much on the rookie as it is as much the veteran guys like Oweh. I think, like I said, it's the first game. I don't think we need to hit a panic, but I think this is kind of his make or break year too. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, we're gonna know you've had a couple of years in this league. We're gonna know which guy you are. It's either you one of the premier pass rushers in this league, and you got to do it by your play in big games, or you're not. It's that simple. So, I'm not gonna say, oh, the kid is not worth anything after one game, this year. You know what I'm saying? He's got 16 more games left, but I think he knows, like, yo, it's time for me to get the respect of the Michael Parsons, the TJ Watts, you know what I'm saying? And those guys, and Garrett, the Myles Garrett. Are you one of those, or are you just another guy that's going to be a journeyman? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a make or break year for him, but I think he's going to be fine. I think, like I said, it was the first game. Like, all of us had, games where, like, it's just like opening games, it just didn't go the way we thought it was going to go. I'm going to have 3 sacks and I'm going to win the game for my team. You know what I'm saying? So it don't always happen like that.
Hey, how'd you like to have played with a unicorn like 14 on the back end?
I did play with a unicorn.
Yeah.
All right, touche.
You set yourself up for that, Bobby.
I played with the greatest safety ever. Like, like the man was we called him Superman Reed. You know what I'm saying? He can cover the back end by himself. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do love. I love Kyle Hamilton's game. I love him a lot. I like him as a football player. My daughter said he was really fine and cute, so I have a little beef with him over there. So, because my daughter is like crushing on him, so that's why I might have to have a talk with Mr. Hamilton. But
well, he's engaged now, right? Like they're married. Yeah.
Even better, even better. Yes.
I was gonna say, says he basically had like an all-time off season. He got the engagement in like Greece or somewhere in Italy or somewhere in Europe. He got the contract extension, the highest paid safety. The dude's a unicorn, and yeah, he's something. I guess what I was trying to do there was not compare the two by any stretch of the imagination, but also just point out how versatile. Yeah,
great player. He's a Raven through and through, and he definitely would have fit in with us. Like, so when you got a player that could play in different eras like that, that's special. So he's definitely a great player, and we'd have loved to have him. You know what I'm saying?
Last question for me. I know you got to get out of here. I was reading from the Action Network. You had said, it's kind of Super Bowl or bust for the Ravens, and maybe people could go everywhere afterwards or whatnot. Could you elaborate on kind of what you were trying to say there with like this being like a kind of a make or break year for the Ravens?
Yeah. See, what you as players don't realize is that success in this league is rare, and not only that, like your team is gonna change every year. So, like if you look through our team, we knew we were gonna have our core guys. You know what I'm saying? We knew we was gonna have Ray. You knew we was gonna have Ed. And we knew we was gonna have Haloti, myself. The big guy. You know what I mean? But your team changes. Like guys start leaving. We lost DeJuan Landry. We ended up losing Kelly Greggs and Jared Johnson. You know what I'm saying? Like guys that were pivotal to our success. Your team is going to change every year. The business of this game is going to get your team. That's why you gotta capitalize when you have the chance, because your window is only open for so long. You know what I mean? Your window of opportunity is only open for so long. You know what I'm saying? And we don't know if we'll ever get these times back again. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of Super Bowl or bust. Like everybody's already talking about, they've been collapsing in the first quarter. So, if they go to the playoffs and have kind of like the same unfortunate exit, like it's gonna be a lot of roster changes. You know what I'm saying? It was like, all right, what do we do to get over this hump? Like, how do we win? You know what I'm saying? They're gonna start evaluating guys one by one. You know what I mean? Like your team is gonna change. So you might want to get the job done with the team that you have before everybody get hit with the business side of the game.
Hey, last thing, you gonna be Canton chilling one day or what?
I hope so, man. I think they got it wrong last year. I got plagued. I left out me and Marshall.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? I can't. I hope so. I don't want to think about it like last year. I didn't want to think about it. And everybody started talking about like, yo, Sis, you're a final. And I'm like, okay. And I never got the knock. So it was unfortunate, but you know what I mean? I hope so. Hopefully they'll get it right this year.
Have you and Marshall had a chance to commiserate together?
Yeah. And we all can, wear them gold jackets together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need that. You, Ed, Ray, J.O., and
Ozzie.
Marshall. That's right. And Ozzie. That's right. I have Ozzie, of course. So, hey, we don't have a lot of weight, but we'll be pushing the agenda around here inside the vault for you to be getting in.
I appreciate it. I can use all the help I can get.
All right.
Hey, seriously, thank you for your time today, man. Enjoy the season. Hope to see you in Baltimore at some point over the next few months, and all the best to you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thanks,
absolutely. And special thanks to Maddie and Alex for making that happen on the back end, Sarah. That was definitely a bucket list item for the vault. We appreciate Terrell Suggs, all-time Raven, and hopefully he'll have a bust one day sitting there in Canton and in his rightful place alongside all the other Ravens that have come before him and will come after him, in Lamar Jackson's case, of course, too.
If he wanted to, Sizzle could definitely be in the media. Like we've done a lot of interviews, a lot of former players, this and that. He knows what he's talking about. He's articulate. He's succinct. He's not afraid to give his opinion. So yeah, Sizzle could definitely be in the media if he wanted to be.
He got me good there, didn't he?
That was great. Well, it's so funny because we played that Kyle Van Noy clip with like, he's like the 24 and 54 hour. And you literally said, you gave the grace. You're like, we've all been there. And yours was nowhere near as bad as that. Because you, of course, when you asked the question, I was like, oh, good question. Like you're just setting up Kyle Hamilton. And for him to talk about Kyle, like you just asked the questions in a unique way. But then he was like, I've had a unicorn. So that was great.
That was good. That was really good. That's just one of those touche moments. Salute.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask the question in a different response after you. Oh, that was good. So
yeah, no, that was awesome. And no, I think my biggest takeaway is that he was like, when I asked him, I was like, so, when they underperform in the playoffs, is this like, hey, as a player, you just say different circumstances. It is what it is. It just happens to be, coincidence the way it all played out. And he's like, he pauses for quite some time. He's like, I think it's creeping up in the back of your head where you're like, oh no, please don't let this happen again. And he, used the quicksand analogy. So I thought that was good. I'm glad he explained the Super Bowl or bust, comments, which we talked about. And I feel like we talked about it. It was like, it's the business side. You only have a good roster like this. We've been lucky to have the roster as often as we've had, as good as it is. And we are lucky that the core guy this time around is going to be Lamar Jackson. So that always keep you in contention. But like those pieces around you matter. So, and then like him talking about Oweh and how the pressure is on there. He's also saying don't put too much pressure on Mike Green. Like so much good stuff from that interview. Shout out. And I didn't tell him this because you remember before the you were like, hey, do you think he'll remember you? And I was like, I don't know, man. Most of these guys don't. And I was like, and I was almost brought it up. I remember like my most memorable, I have two memorable moments with Terrell Suggs. One is when I brought my son to work and I think he was like 9 at the time. And we were walking around a corner in one of the hallways and it was like one of those classics where two people are coming from two corners and they can't see each other. So my son almost banged, like hit right into Terrell Suggs, and Suggs just looks down on him. He's like, you better be careful there, little buddy. Like my son's like 16 now and he still remembers that. And my second memory is that I won't tell you what he said, but he made fun of me pretty good one day. Yeah, my face was bright red. He made fun of me coming off the field. And I was like, oh, like I didn't bring any of those up. I kind of want to be like, hey, Suggs, you remember making fun of me for this?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, because he made fun of everybody all the time.
He's got the best personality, the best friggin' personality. And not to mention off the top, he's like, I'm not sure where I'm going to be because I got a 1-year-old boss.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely assumed he was going to be there on Sunday. I guess I shouldn't have assumed that. But maybe he'll be back for that Steelers game. He said he'll be back a couple times when they're having – what's the Steelers celebration game? What was that one for?
For one of the Super Bowl titles, right?
That's right.
They're going to celebrate one of the two. I can't remember which one. But
maybe it'll be the second one and Suggs will be there.
Well, if he's back, right? If he's back, you would think it'd be the second one. But yeah. Hey, needless to say, too, he also kind of answered that question about divvying up blame that very little should go towards John Harbaugh. So perhaps
that's true
to unpack there as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. As always, these guys do it out of the generosity of their own time, of their own hearts with their time. So special thanks to T Sizzle. Special thanks to the folks on the back end that made that happen. And we hope that you guys enjoyed pretty cool Inside the Vault guest there.
That was awesome.
A couple birthdays today to celebrate. Both one of them was just mentioned by his former teammate, Ed Reed, and Zay Flowers both share a birthday today on the 11th of September.
The GOAT, the unicorn we were just talking about.
Yes, we were. And let's see. Happy birthday to those guys. Let's get to some more super chats as well. Do want to say shout out to our guy, friend of the show. Femi is in the house, a member of that 2000 team. He says, this was in response to you, Sarah, earlier on. He goes, we still are and still do. Hashtag 2000. Can't remember the exact comment you made, but it was essentially just commenting on
that they talked a lot of trash.
Defense. Yep.
That they talked a lot of trash and they backed it up.
Yes, they did. Oh, that's what it was. Thank
Look
you.
How Fami's looking in that profile pic. Go back a little. Look at that Ravens purple with like the light gray. Looking clean, Femi.
Well, it must have been all that yoga and Pilates he's doing, man. He's looking clean and healthy, as always.
And real quick, I do have practice report news coming out of practice. So Nnamdi Madubuike did return to practice. He's got an ankle injury, but he's back. And Isaiah Likely, Patrick Ricard, both still not there. Jeffrey Beck says, so it's pretty safe to say Likely and Ricard will miss their second straight game Sunday.
Yeah, and maybe that sets up for one of the two, if not both, to return in front of a primetime audience, maybe. Ravens-Lions coming up on Monday Night Football just a couple weeks from now. OJ says, number 84 is not getting enough love. Buddy is like that for real, referring to Zaire Mitchell-Payton, undrafted tight end who had some good blocking put on tape. Of course, in that first Derrick Henry big run, I think it ended up for 6 in that first quarter. Zaire's block was really the freeing one that got Derrick going on that play. So well done to him. He was a practice squad elevation game day call-up. Nick Marty says, I tweeted at Jerry on this topic, referring to your commentary on Jerry Coleman earlier on. God King, I never know how to pronounce the rest of it, but God King, Sarah, for you.
Says Lamar's cramps is an excuse. Lamar didn't tell John I can't go back in. It's all gaslight. Covering Harbs is butt. Jerry Coleman, it's not one game, many years now.
Nick Marty is back. He says, can you ask T Sizzle? Sorry, Nick, we didn't see this. We were locked in on making sure we get the interview done as quickly as possible for him. He says, can you ask T Sizzle, besides Big Ben, who was his favorite quarterback to hit?
Because we do all know it was Big Ben.
Yeah, I was going to say, we'll have to share that for next time. Eric with a bunch of hashtags for our guests here. Hashtag Ball So Hard University. Hashtag T Sizzle. Hashtag Baltimore Ravens. And, oh, man, I'm sorry, guys, that we didn't get to some of these. We should have. But Kwame B wanted to know what role you think Harbaugh has to play in these late game collapses, which he did answer.
You did ask. You basically asked that. Yeah.
I did. Should he take more of the blame? So this one was actually addressed. I beg your pardon. Thank you, Kwame. And God King is back, Sarah.
He says there's some truth to what Sizzle said, a little. I don't know which part he's talking about, but.
Sorry, guys. I usually keep track of this better. We just had a lot on our plate today getting this thing set up. Adam Legend writes, fans love to say this wouldn't happen with Ray, Sizz, and Ed. Then Sizz holds players accountable between the lines, and fans don't like that. Adam Legend calling it spade a spade. Eric Hill, Sarah?
Bobby, I was never adopted technically. My mom is 15 minutes down the road, but apparently people love adding me to the family as their son. LOL. Okay.
In other words, I was just making up stuff about his past. Sorry, Eric. Jake writes, I'll be seeing Tampa Bay Bob in person next week. I forgot about this, dude. Send me your flights. It's Jets Bucks.
Okay.
On a Sunday, and it's Jake's 30th birthday weekend, I want to say, Jake, right? Correct? So remind me, though, when the heck is that? I got to make sure I'm here.
You better be ready for your guests.
I told him in Vegas. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll be there. And now I'm like, Jake writes.
Because you're going to Baltimore for Detroit, right?
Say it again.
You're going to Baltimore for the Detroit game.
I know, and I'm hoping that
that's a couple weeks away, so you guys better get on the same page.
You want to know what, though? I think I'm not leaving until Sunday night.
Because it's a Monday night game?
I think he's coming in for the beginning of the weekend, so hopefully we'll be able to overlap. But Jake's also saying that the Ravens Vault for life, and Sarah is crushing it as usual, giving you some love from New York.
He's just trying to give me love to not give you love.
This guy, man, he's in generous mode because his Jets YouTube channel, as usual, is absolutely crushing it. Guys, if you want any kind of New York sports coverage, go follow Jake. You can also go check out his Jets-related YouTube channel, 40,000 plus subscribers and counting. Big community there. Love what Jake's doing in that space.
Jake has gotten so big, right? That hasn't he filled in on Sirius XM and some other major platforms?
ESPN New York, Sirius XM. He filled in for Michael Kay, the Yankees announcer, not on the Yankees broadcast, but on his radio show in New York. Jake's got a radio background, much like myself. We came up together. He's still dipping his feet into the radio world, and he's crushing it in YouTube, and he's become a great friend of the show. So
yeah, he is crushing
shout out
it.
him.
Good job, Jake.
Yep. Eileen Nolan and Myron McIntosh, shout out to you both. Thank you both for believing in what we're building and being part of our Vault Patreon community. We appreciate you guys for your continued support, and this is your shout out. So Eileen, Myron, thank you. If you guys are interested in doing the same, you can visit patreon.com/Ravens Vault Podcasts. Sarah, can't stress enough how kind of that from Terrell to join us. I thought that was awesome. It'll be available in full in our best of section, our repurposed content. So go check that out if you haven't already done so. And why don't you take this one from Eric on our way out?
says Jake Asman, DeBrickshaw Ferguson needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
I'm pretty sure DeBrickshaw's been on Jake's show before. He's got all the Jets in his pocket. So I'm sure he'll be on the forefront of those Hall of Fame candidacy ties right there, Eric. So, Eric, dude, thank you, man. Thank you so much for such a generous episode. You guys are all of us today. Let's just count what are 49 of you either gifted memberships today or gifted super chats. And we appreciate you so much for all this continued support. Partner, anything else from you before we jump today?
We had just over 4,000 concurrents at the peak of the show. So appreciate that on this Thursday, 4,000. I just love being back in season and like everybody's more tuned in.
Oh, you and me both. And speaking of tuning in, there's going to be obviously one more show for us to do before the weekend begins, 12 noon on Friday. And I will have pregame coverage probably in like the 11 o'clock hour, maybe 11 or noon, depending on what I decide for Sunday leading into Browns-Ravens, this home opener in Baltimore. And then you and I, of course, will begin our post-game show, typically in that 4:30, 5 o'clock slot, somewhere around there, depending on what happens post-game. So that's our plan. We appreciate you guys so much for an awesome Thursday. Thank you to special guest Terrell Suggs for joining us. Thanks to all 4,000 plus at peak concurrence today. And thanks to all 25,000 plus, including those in the audio-only space that continue to support this show on a daily basis. For Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off. Guys, you know the drill. If you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Those things go a long way to channel growth. If you'd like to become a channel member, just press that join feature. If you'd like to give channel membership, you can do the exact same thing. Press that join feature. We'll catch up with you guys tomorrow.
One last shout out to you. Thanks for getting Terrell Suggs. Thanks for booking that. That came out of nowhere. Well done to get the legend himself. Well done.
Oh, of course. Thank you. Appreciate that. I love calling you after 9 o'clock at night. Does not typically happen inside our circles unless it's a post-game show. So I gladly called you after a text, and that was always, it's a benchmark thing for us. You know, it's a one of those you remember, you know, up there for the Steve Youngs and the Kurt Warners and everybody else that we've had on. All of our guests mean a lot to us because they're doing it out of really just their own generosity. So thanks, partner. Appreciate you guys. We'll catch up with you tomorrow, as always, here inside the vault. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.